I wanted to talk a little bit about research and also like keeping it a bit not too technical, but giving you a bit of a sense for what happened in the last 12 months and what we at Rasa are excited about. And for everyone who doesn't know Rasa, we are an open source toolkit for mostly developers and product teams to expand AI assistance beyond just simple question and answering. And we're going to talk more about that as well. But before I start, I would actually be curious to hear, and if you could raise your hands, like who's an engineer or developer here? Just to get a quick sense for that. Okay, very cool. Designers or conversational designers? All right. Product managers? Cool. And then the rest is something else, I guess. That's perfect. Great mix. I'm excited. Cool. So everyone who has been here last year already, which is pretty much exactly a year ago, might remember that I've been talking back then about how research in dialogue systems and chatbot frameworks doesn't really fit together. And back then I've been talking a lot about how hard it is for developers and product teams to update their state machines, to build bots that really go beyond just one question and one answer. And I had this picture here where I said, like, you know, get rid of your state machine because it doesn't scale. So now fast forward a year ago, what we launched actually a month afterwards, so it's now like 11 months old, is Rasa Core, which is our machine learning based dialogue engine. And the main difference to like a rule-based approach is pretty much that we take a neural net that takes different feature vectors as inputs and then decides what happens next in a conversation. And the reason why this is cool, I'm going to talk about this later a little bit as well, but it's pretty much because you can scale to more complex use cases. And if anything, also the panels earlier today have been talking about this. I think it's still like early days and there's a lot of stuff that has to be invented. And in the case for Rasa, we have like an open source community. We have been growing really fast in the last year. We are almost like over 100,000 downloads, which is really exciting. What we are most excited about is really that we have a lot of contributors that write code for the open source, but also like find edge cases in our software, and that's really what it's all about because it's early days. But enough about Rasa. I just wanted to get everyone on the same page. I think what I'm personally really excited about is that finally this year, I think the world has seen the killer bot, or at least what it could be. And I'm sure everyone has seen Google Duplex's demo earlier this year. And if anything, it was a great demo, and everyone who builds bots knows that you can give great demos with bots. As soon as somebody else uses it, it's not great anymore. So I'm really curious to try it out myself. But in any case, I think Google did a great job at building something like this, and probably took a lot of investment and a lot of time and resources on it. But it also gave a bit of an outlook of like what a bot could actually be. And if anything, that's a question that we get a lot, and I think every one of you also gets a lot, because there seems to be only like a binary bot landscape, right? It's either like a shitty bot or it's like a human-based bot or something like that, that is human-level intelligence. I think the truth is somewhere in the middle, and what we've written about a couple of weeks ago on O'Reilly is what we call like the 5 levels of AI assistance. And actually the first level might not be super obvious for everyone, but when we talk to users and also our customers, we do get this feedback a lot that people say, oh, like bots have been around for like 10 years or so, right? So if you go to a website and then like this little thing pops up, a lot of people think that it's a bot. I mean, it's mostly still humans, right? But this like initial notification, if you will, is perceived by a lot of people as a bot. And if you will, that happens on mobile as well, right? If like an app sends you a push notification, that might be a bot. It's obviously not, as we all know here, as we are all bot professionals, but that's how people think about it. And that's been around like pretty much since the iPhone has been around. Level 2 is what we would consider to be like the kind of standard at the moment, classical FAQ, so one question and one answer, but not really much to this, right? So if I'm in Thailand and I lost my credit card and I tell my bank, I would probably get like a message back saying, you know, sorry about that, here's a link where you can get a new credit card. And then I have to like cumbersome like log in, and that doesn't work. So obviously not a great experience. What Google Duplex showed is what we think is like a contextual assistant. So what that means is pretty much that you take into consideration what your user has been said before, but also like other things like the user's profile and in general like the history of the conversation, like a human would do, or like how Google Duplex did as well. As a next stage, we think that it'll get more personalized. And with personalized, I don't mean just like putting the name into the greeting. I mean, that's easy. It's really more about like almost having neural nets that are based only for one person, right? So they know you really, really well. So it's like your personal banking assistant that you can always call, and it's always up for you, and never gets to sleep. So that's really hard to achieve. It sounds, I mean, everything sounds easy with bots as long as you haven't built one. But actually, so the personalized ones, I think is really like the most exciting future for this. And then combining this together is what we would call like an autonomous organization. What we mean with this is pretty much a company that is run by AI assistants and humans also together, but you will have like sales assistants, you might have customer service assistants, and like all of these like work together and learn from each other. And achieving this is probably like more in the future. Like we think it's the next 10 years. We'll see how fast this goes. But what I wanted to talk about today is a little bit like, how does the roadmap look like to get there? Because a lot of people talk about bots. We still think there's not enough research happening, also with serious data sets. So what happened in the last 12 months since I was on stage here? And I think the first thing that we've seen a lot, especially also through OpenAI and a lot of interesting papers there, is that fancy neural architectures don't really seem to bring that much of an uplift. And I'm not saying this is like a bad idea, but like basic LSTMs seem to perform quite well, and there's definitely a tendency to just throw much more data and compute at it, at the problem, than like coming up with fancy neural architectures. And I think the reason for this is also that computers obviously getting even cheaper and all of that, but also it's like a bit like early days, so you want to kind of push the limits of the existing architectures that you already have. There have been a lot of interesting papers from OpenAI, for example, on this topic, and that's a big trend that we've seen in the last 12 months. Another one, so I'm German. Rasa is based in Germany. Everyone who speaks German might have seen this word before. It means dental insurance, but not only dental insurance, but additional dental insurance. So it's kind of a thing in the German healthcare ecosystem. I don't want to talk about this, but anyways, it's a very long word. And natural language understanding doesn't like words like this because they don't appear in Wikipedia that often. And as you know, like most of the word vector models are trained on like some public domain. And the problem with that is that you usually then have a word that is out of vocabulary. And that is not cool. If you ever build a bot and you've done more advanced NLU, you know that this is a big problem because it pretty much destroys your whole word vector representation of it. And what we've done in Rasa NLU, which is our natural language understanding product, we've came up with a new pipeline that is actually using a neural architecture and learns word vectors on the fly. So the idea is that you can pretty much learn from the training data that you have, and then if this is in your training data at Zahnzusatzversicherung, it'll actually be represented as well. And with that, just to give you an example, we've seen a big uplift in the accuracy. Ergo is one of the biggest insurance companies in Europe. So they have seen an uplift from 65 to 79%. So the reason for this is actually also, I think, because you want to be more able to customize your pipelines and your models. And that's something that we've just seen, takes also a bit more of an advanced team. I mean, it's something that you just can't do if you are a business person designing and clicking together a bot, which I think is also a good way to start. But then if you want to get more advanced, you want to tweak the models behind that. Another big trend, and I'm sure engineers of you have seen that and read about it, are like sentence embeddings. So the example that I have here, I want pizza, not sushi, or I want sushi, not pizza. If you take a normal word vector-based approach, this is actually the same, and that's a problem because that might really mess your user's intention. In this case, what you want to do, you want to kind of figure out what they actually wanted to order and what they not wanted to order. I mean, negation in itself is a totally separate research problem, so that's we can talk about that for 2 hours. But what's interesting here is with the sentence embeddings that you really look at the whole sentence and also like the structure of the words, and that's something that I think also came from Google, from OpenAI actually this year, a universal sentence classifier, and that again like brings uplift. So that's something that just recently happened. I don't have any data on that, how much that impacts it. There has been a blog post by one of our partners actually who implemented something like that in combination with a word vector approach, but too early to give any results on that, but I personally think that's definitely the future. And then I mentioned earlier, like, one of the big problems is like scaling assistants to new domains. So let's take the example of Google Duplex earlier, right? That was really good at taking a phone call to a hairdresser, but then if it's like hotel booking or something like that, you pretty much would have to come up with all the edge cases again, and it's like extremely hard and cumbersome to build something like that. The example that I have here is actually also flight booking and hotel booking. So let's say I have a really great AI assistant that does flight booking really well. So it talks with my user and says like, okay, shall I book this flight to New York? And then all of a sudden my user asks like, what's the weather like? And it might be because I want to, bring my Rasa jacket or so or not. Want to decide if I should take it or not. But it's a legit question, but it definitely interrupts the flow, and it's like something that you probably haven't anticipated. But let's say you have handled this case, and you probably call a weather API and then give some response. Now what you want to do is you want to bring this person back into the flow. Kind of makes sense because you want to make money, you want to book a flight. And if you handle that, this is like one of the edge cases, right? So you handle that and bring people back. But what now? So what now if you want to expand your AI assistant to something like hotel booking? What you would have to do is you would have to come up with that rule again in your state machine for the hotel booking. And I mean, you can imagine how complex this gets if you have like multiple different user goals, but also multiple different edge cases, right? Because people can ask like all most random stuff in the world. So what we did is actually, we showed in a research paper that we will release in the next couple of weeks that we can transfer learn that behavior to a new domain using our neural architecture. So I have 5 minutes left for the future. Just wanted to talk a little bit about like the trends that we're going to see in the next 12 months. So as I mentioned already, more data and more compute, hopefully better results. We'll see. Hopefully update you guys in 12 months on that. So get your big machines ready. A next big topic, and I'm sure everyone who built bots also knows about that. Unfortunately, you can't like do everything with machine learning. I wish you could, but sometimes you have certain business rules to follow. You're a big bank or insurance company, and you have to enforce like certain authentication flows or things like that. So one of the big topics, also on our end, but I think for the industry, is to figure out how you can blend machine learning and rules together in a way that it actually makes sense. And it's really hard to do. It sounds really easy, but really hard to do. Another big topic is improved in entity recognition, especially when you want to connect that to some knowledge base or like some Elasticsearch instance or whatever you have. So this is an example from one of our customers, a very big airplane manufacturer. So a 1/4-inch screw, right? There are lots of 1/4-inch screws, so you want to kind of provide your user with some form of like, I don't know, selection based on your knowledge graph or knowledge database. And then I think the last big topic will be around learning from real user conversations without much annotation, right? Because in the end, intents and entities are, one step, but it's also really cumbersome and it's really annoying to maintain. So like end-to-end learned dialogue systems, we think are also very much the future. It might be a bit too early. Hopefully I can present you something on that in 12 months. But it's definitely a really exciting topic, and I think there will be a lot of like pushes forward in the future. Well, I have 1 minute or so. Just quickly, we at Rasa, we have this mission of empowering makers like you guys, so everyone who's here, I would consider a maker as part of a product team to build the best AI assistants, and we just don't think this will happen anytime soon in like one tool to rule them all. That's also why we are excited to partner up with other tools for the design process and all of that, and also for analytics and all of these things. We are very much about research and like applying that and shipping that into our open source libraries. And we also are all about like your data is yours. So if you want to build a company on top of conversational AI, you should also own the IP behind that. If you're a big bank and you want to compete on AI with your other big bank competitors, you might as well not take just one of the off-the-shelf AIs, because how can you compete if it's all the same? So that's what Rasa is all about. We also have a really cool community of makers. And the last thing that I wanted to mention is that we have Rasa Summit coming up in Berlin. I know you all want to go to Berlin because it's an amazing city. If you can't make it, it's also virtual. So just go to rasa.com/summit and sign up. And if you have any questions, happy to take them. Thank you.
All right, yeah. AIR. AIR. Who's got some AIR questions? Or actually, should I say, who would like to go first with their AIR question? Yes. Thank you for saying. Was it just because you felt bad, or did you actually have a question? Okay, good, good.
Hi. So my question is, how would you handle all the other language? So for sure you spend a lot of time in German. Obviously I'm French, and on some other language. What's the challenge and what's the route or the direction we should follow?
So you mean like handling multiple languages in one AI assistant? Or?
Yeah, exactly, for
Yeah.
NLU and handling multiple
Yeah.
languages and not only American.
Yeah. Very good question. So I think it always depends.
Would you
on your
rephrase the question as part of your answer?
Yeah, sure. So the question is like how to handle multiple questions in one AI assistant, and I think it really depends on your use case. So what we've seen is that there's quite some easy wins when it comes to like just detecting the language in the first place, and then like switching the NLU model, but keeping the dialogue model the same. But I think that only covers like basic use cases, because what we see, at least as soon, I mean, unless you're in a country, maybe like Switzerland, where you have officially like 4 languages, and then the business logic and everything of the dialogue is the same, you can keep that, and then it's quite easy to do. But as soon as you have like geographical rules, right? Maybe if it's like an insurance company that operates in Germany and the US, you definitely will have other rules over there in Germany. So then it's a bit trickier. Honestly, it's still like a problem to be solved. Something that for us right now doesn't have like super high prio, but it's definitely on our midterm roadmap. I personally think that people should build a really, really good bot first in one language and then think about the rest.
All right, next question. If you were, oh yes, here we go. I was about to fish. Here you go.
Hi, Alex. This is Anup here. So, as an enterprise, within the enterprise, right, we have a choice points, multiple choice points, and I know Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and all are making quite a bit of stride in AI, in chatbots and all. The struggle is, I know your tool sounds pretty good. When we make an evaluation in the long term, why would we choose Rasa over an existing, well-established, and pretty lot of investment going on that space, and put our bets on you?
Yeah, very good question. So I think in the end, for us, it's all about like the community aspect and like the possibility to run something like this open source and like wherever you want to. And that's just something that we haven't seen from the big platforms. Obviously, you could argue that they might do this at some point in time. That's an investor question. But I don't see this happening. And I think the reason is because in the end, these platforms have always told like the narrative of like, give us your data and everything will be better. We actually sometimes, most of the times, would see the opposite in a way that if you have like your own data set and you can, like in a healthcare domain, for example, train your own word vector models based on healthcare language data, you actually get better performance than like a blended one. So this is this part. I think overall, what we've seen with the platform tools is that they are really good at like the level 2 FAQ bot like style. And then, I mean, we're in Silicon Valley, right? And it's always a question of like, can there be another company that pushes like the next level? Our answer to this is yes, it's us. But it's a belief.
One more question. And if you don't ask, it means he did a really good job. I think he did a really good job. Ladies and gentlemen, put your bots together for this guy and his AIR.